Welcome to the newest episode of The Process of Fat Loss, where our goal is to help you understand the best way to lose fat and live a healthier life. Join us as we discuss some of the toughest and most valuable topics in health and fitness. Today's discussion is based on a question we get all the time from clients. Here at GCP, we talk a lot about how vegetables aren't particularly good for you, especially when trying to burn fat. But for many people who've been told to eat their vegetables their whole life, and people who enjoy eating vegetables, it can be hard to completely cut those things out of their diet. This is something we run into a lot with our nutrition clients especially, so we decided to give you some answers to those questions. So Trevor, why don't you give us some background for today's discussion?
Thanks, Nick. The toxicity of a plant doesn't add much value to our diet and actually negatively impacts our health. We've talked about that many times. However, I don't want to demonize vegetables as well because they are edible. So some people do enjoy them, and if they're cooked properly, and they have them in small portions in their diet in terms of carb control, it's actually okay to have them. You can actually fit them into your diet.
What are some ways that we can prepare vegetables so that they can still be consumed while also avoiding some of the harmful toxins that they contain?
The main thing we're going to do is just cook them properly. That's the biggest thing. So we want to cook them thoroughly. The key to cooking most vegetables to eliminate toxins is to cook them enough that you can easily put a fork through them. This process of cooking them thoroughly breaks down many toxins and makes it more digestible by the body. I prefer people either put them in an Instapot or an oven to make sure they have a longer period of time to cook and break down the fiber and the toxins in there. Because in a sense, fiber is not the greatest thing in the world for us because it actually log jams up our intestine. So we don't want too much fiber either. So we do want to break down some of those fiber components. Air frying and grilling in aluminum foil would be the next best things when it comes after, like if you can't do those, you do either air frying or grilling them. However, you gotta be careful with aluminum foil because you risk adding metal toxins into your food. So again, make sure that eating vegetables is worth the toxic load that you're putting in. And my least favorite way of doing it is using a pan, frying it on a pan. Usually the vegetables don't get thoroughly cooked this way, especially cruciferous vegetables, mushrooms, nightshades, and potatoes. They don't really get fully cooked this way. Spinach does though. Spinach cooks pretty well in a frying pan because the idea is, again, you got to get it super soft. And on a frying pan, it's usually burning by the time you can actually get that fork to easily push through it. But you can do them in any of those ways. It really just comes down to being how thoroughly you cook them and how much you're willing to taste that blandness of that cooking.
So earlier you mentioned that if you're consuming vegetables, that they should only be a small portion of someone's diet. Why is that? And then why can't they play a larger role in daily meals?
First part is they just have very little nutritional value. So even though there are ways to cook vegetables to reduce the toxic load, the issue is that nutrients become depleted during this process. So the more we cook them, the more depletion of nutrients we get. So you're really eating mainly dietary fiber-based foods that will plug you up more than anything else. You're also taking in carbs that don't add any nutritional value and will more than likely turn into excess body fat based on your insulin sensitivity. So if you enjoy vegetables that much, and go ahead and have some, but if you don't, the negativity of the food probably doesn't outweigh the benefit of it. When eating calories, it's best to think about the most bang for your buck. So if you're putting in the food, there should be a nutritional value associated with food. For every calorie, you want to maximize the total nutritional value. Meat has the highest nutritional value when it comes per calorie. Fruit is second, dairy is third, and plants along with seeds are towards the bottom of the nutritional value. So when you're looking at it in that sense, like I'm not asking people to just think it's just a calculation. Like I just eat because this is exactly what my body needs. But you do have to take that into account, right? So like we do eat for a very specific purpose, and it's not really a pleasure-based thing. So since it's not a pleasure-based thing when we're eating this way, we need to make always a pleasure-based thing, right? We need to make sure we're still getting nutritional value from the food that we're eating.
So what are
so then
No, you can continue.
Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead. What are some ways that our listeners can take action on what we talked about today?
The main thing is when eating vegetables, make sure you do the fork test to make sure that the fork goes through it, and it's not. If the fork can't go through it, throw it back in, cook it longer. So if you go like eat broccoli is a perfect example for me. Let's say you're steaming broccoli, and you reach in and you go push a fork through it, and it doesn't go all the way through. Just steam it longer, even though that's what's recommended for the steaming. We'll put in for a little bit longer. If you're going to eat carbs, try not to waste the carbs on low nutrient value foods, right? So meaning like if you're going to eat if you're going to eat the carbs, make sure you put them into fruits and vegetables. Fruits would be a better comp because you're getting more nutrient value. Maybe a little bit more in potatoes, and save some of those green leafy vegetables towards the low end of the list because there's not a lot of nutrient value out of that.
Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed listening to this episode on talking about today's topic. Like Trevor said earlier, we're not trying to completely demonize vegetables. Some people do enjoy them. So hopefully you can take some of the things we talked about and implement them in your life. Remember, the best time to start living a healthier life is today. So make sure to take action on things we talked about in your life right away. If you did enjoy today's episode, please give us a review. You can also subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube to make sure you're catching our next episodes. And then follow us on social media to stay up to date on future episodes and different topics we're talking about on there. If you have any ideas for topics that you want us to discuss or any questions or anything like that, definitely send us either an email or message us on social media, and we'll try to answer those questions or maybe talk about them on one of the episodes we have. Thanks again, and I hope you will join us for the next episode of The Process of Fat Loss.
Remember, guys, just because your mom told you to eat your veggies doesn't mean you actually have to eat your veggies. Have a great day.